Hey ladies, it's Ariane, and I'm going to do my second video. I'm uploading my first video right now about the birth of my first daughter. And so I'm going to go ahead and do kind of I'm going to try to make this fast story about the birth of my second daughter, who Lydia is sleeping right now, and my first daughter is going to sit here and play Kindle while we chat. So my second daughter, I wanted to have natural. I had I had a healthy pregnancy, no problems, no anything. And she was only born 2 days early, and so I was like 39 weeks or whatever, and I had taken castor oil because I was really trying to get her out and move things along. And so I had taken castor oil, and at like 2 in the morning, by 2 in the morning, it gives you, this is really TMI, it gives you diarrhea, and then it starts contractions. And so it worked, started having contractions. They kind of came and went. They kind of started to go away a little bit by the time I woke up. I went back to bed and tried to sleep through them. But then they came back middle of the day, kind of early morning, afternoon. I was really excited. I went for a walk with my husband, got the contractions stronger, and then finally at about, I would say 4 o'clock, I called my midwife, and I don't remember how far apart or close together they were, but I just remember I finally got to a point when I was getting things together with my daughter and my foster kids and my husband. I was packing. I remember I got to a point where I thought, I better get to the birth center because they're getting close together and I don't want to have the baby at home unassisted. So we went, and she checked me. I was dilated to a 4, and she said, well, you can either go home, wait it out a little bit, or you can go for a walk. So my husband and I went for a walk around the birth center for about an hour, which was interesting. Good job. Keep trying.
There you go.
It was interesting because I was having contractions, I'd say every 3 minutes, and so I'd stop and have to kind of rock on my husband and like hold on to him, and like in the middle of the public streets have a contraction. And it was kind of hard. It was painful. It was painful, but I could handle it. And finally, I got to the point where I was really tired. I was yawning, and I was like, I'm yawning. I can't catch my breath. We need to head back. So we went back. She said, I asked if I could get in the tub, the water, and she said no, because that kind of slows down your contractions. And then she checked the baby's heart rate, and the baby's heart rate was a little high, and so she said, let's go ahead and put you in the water and kind of calm her down a little bit so she doesn't overstress. And so I got into the water, and after being there for a little bit, she got me out and checked me, and I had dilated to a 6. And so she said, that's good, actually. She wasn't expecting me to dilate in the tub. She kind of thought it would slow things out. She said, you can go ahead and stay in there. Go back in the tub, and you can just spend the rest of the time in there. And so I labored in the tub. Painful, yet if you watched my first video, they were more manageable than my first contractions with my first daughter. I felt like I had had more sleep. I felt like I was better in control of myself. I labored in the water. I held on to my husband. I definitely have like there's a natural, I don't know, it kicks in where like I kind of have like a hum that I do to kind of get through the contraction and like breathe steady. I really focused on not tensing all of my muscles during a contraction, because with my first daughter, after I had my first daughter, I was so sore. Every muscle in my body was sore, and I had to get a massage. I was in pain, and I had learned since then that really you need to work on relaxing all your muscles in your body through a contraction. So I really worked on that, like try not to tense and stress and like stay relaxed. And so my midwife had me drinking, and she had me eating, and she kept trying to push water on me, which after a while I got to the point where I had really bad heartburn, and I don't get heartburn. In fact, that's not a symptom in pregnancy that I get, but the heartburn, I got to the point where I was like, I don't want any more water, and so she gave me like a ton of calcium pills to like help with heartburn, because I was really uncomfortable with that. Finally, let's see, at about, I would say 8 o'clock at night, she made a comment like, oh, you might want to call your family and just kind of tell them that, you know, to be prepared because this baby's going to be born before midnight. And that really shocked me because I was like, really? Like, I didn't feel like I had progressed that quickly. I don't remember what I was dilated to at the time, but I remember just thinking like, that already? Like really before midnight? It's already 12 o'clock, like it's already 8 o'clock and you're saying this baby's going to be born in the next little bit. And I was really shocked because I felt like I had progressed so much quicker and it hadn't been as painful as with my first daughter. And so I was really shocked that like I kind of felt like I had done it and I had managed it and I had survived. Like it wasn't as bad as my first experience and the contractions weren't as bad. And so anyway, finally it got to a point where, I don't know, I don't remember what time, maybe it was even 9 o'clock. She said, call your family, you know, whoever wants to be here, have them come because the baby's going to be born soon. When I was about 8 centimeters dilated, she asked if she could break my water, and I was like, that's fine. So I got out of the tub, and she broke my water, and yeah, everything went well with that. It was interesting. I don't remember the contractions getting stronger from that. I know a lot of women say that, you know, your contractions get stronger when your water breaks, but I think at that point I was already in transition, and the pain was already that great to where I didn't notice it any different. And so the contractions did get really painful, and about the point where I was supposed to push when I was 10 centimeters, I was really excited to push. She checked and found out that I had an anterior cervical lip, which is actually really popular in labor, in birth. And so basically what happens with that is you can't push the baby past it. You have to get rid of it. You either have to wait until the baby pushes it out, kind of evens that out on their own, or the doctor or the midwife has to manually flip that back. Hold on, let me check my time. Okay, and so this is where things got really rough because I was ready to push. The contractions were extremely painful at this point. They were very, very, very painful. And it got to the point where even after a contraction, there was pain. Like it used to be when a contraction was done, there was no more pain. But it got to where even when a contraction was done, I was like kind of whining and like making sounds even when the contraction was over. It was really painful. She said, I can go in and manually move the lip back, or we can just wait it through a couple contractions and don't push. I was like, okay, we'll try not to push and like wait this through. So I sat through a few contractions just hoping that it would move on its own, which was really hard to not push and bear down. And it didn't move it, and finally I said, okay, go ahead and just do it manually. This was, I think, the most painful part about the whole experience was her doing that manually. I was floating on my back in the water. I wasn't really well supported. And she went in and moved it, and I remember it hurt so bad that I like moved my body away from her. I full on like jerked away from her. And I'm really glad she got it, because I don't know how I would have ever let her try for a second time, because it hurt so bad. Because it was during a contraction that she went in to move it. So it was like the most painful contraction, and then she went in and flipped it back. It was horrible. It was the worst pain in the world. But at that point it was great. She got it and I could start pushing. And this shocked me because I didn't feel this with my first daughter, and I didn't ever hear of any woman describe this. But when I started pushing and she emerged through the cervix into the birth canal, it was a really weird feeling. It was kind of a scary feeling to feel that. It was a new feeling for me I hadn't felt before. And to actually feel her enter the birth canal kind of scared me. I got a little panicky, to tell you the truth. And when she said push, I panicked and I pushed with all my might, because it was painful and it was scary, and I just wanted to get her out of me. Like, I was very highly motivated to push her out. And so at this point things get a little fuzzy, because I just remember pushing so hard that I couldn't contain it in my nose. Like, I was like I was pushing through. I couldn't close off my airways enough to not push through it. I remember that. But I also remember that when my contractions stopped, I got a break. It didn't hurt. Like, that space between contractions were not painful, and that was really nice to get that relaxing break before another contraction. But when it was time to push, I pushed. I pushed my brains out. And the other thing I don't, which is just odd, Adele, you need to turn it down. It's too loud. When she finally was crowning, I don't remember her crowning. I was so anxious to push her out that it all kind of felt the same to me, which is weird because I remember crowning with the first daughter, and that's supposed to be the most painful. But when I looked back on it, I was like, I really don't remember feeling her crown. I just remember pushing and pushing as hard as I could. And she was born. Like, I don't remember that being a slow process. It was a super fast process. So my second daughter was actually born I only pushed for 10 minutes and she was born. When she came out of me, out of the water and onto my chest, I remember thinking just this euphoric feeling, and I think I said it actually, was, I did it. I did it. Like, I was so proud of myself. I did it. And there was just this euphoric happiness almost to be done. Like, I don't know. I have never in my life, I don't think, felt that happy. So when they gave her to me, it was just the most wonderful thing in the world. Like, I did it. I had a baby naturally. I was very proud of myself. It was amazing to hold her. I will include some pictures of me in the birth tub. I got to hold her. I don't remember how long I held her for. And then my midwife started getting to where she was like, you know, we need to get this placenta out. And at that point, I was like, well, at first I was like, okay, that's fine. She pushed down on my pubic bone. And I think that was to start a contraction. I've never heard of that before, but she pushed on my pubic bone and it hurt. And I was like, no way. That placenta could stay inside of me. I did not want to do that again. It was painful. And I had never heard of birthing the placenta as being painful, but for me, it was very painful. She finally tried to get the contractions and going, and I did not want to push it through. I was like, it could stay inside me for all I care. I did not want to have it. I didn't want to feel that pain from the contraction again. And so she was kind of like, okay, I'll let it go. And she didn't push it, and she let me bond with my baby a little bit more. Finally, I had to get out of the pool. I was getting really cold. I got really cold, like a couple, maybe 10 minutes or so, maybe 30 minutes after she was born. I started shaking. And getting really, really shaky. And so she got me out and put a bunch of warm blankets on me because I was just freezing. And then she put drops under my tongue, homeopathic drops to get the placenta out. And so finally I was like, oh, Ariane, you got to get the placenta out. Just do it. And so I bared down and got the placenta out, and it was painful. I mean, it wasn't as painful as a baby, but it was definitely more painful than I thought it was going to be, and I did not want to do it. And then she stitched me up, and I was so happy. Like, I was very aware of everything that was going on. I was very aware of the umbilical cord being cut, and I was touching it and playing with it. It was really interesting. It took her a while to sew me up. My family was there for all of this, like my sisters and my mom, and she gave us like this really awesome lesson about the placenta and like how it works and what attaches, and it was such a cool experience because I was so awake and alert for it. And I nursed her and got my clothes on, and basically, I went home. I only had to stay there for 3 hours by law. They want to keep you there for 3 hours, and then you can go home. So by, I think it was like 2 in the morning, I was able to go home and sleep in my own bed, which was absolutely wonderful because I didn't have doctors pestering me to take my blood pressure. My husband and I both went home with this wonderful baby, and we both slept, and my baby slept. She slept through the night, and it was like the best sleep in the world, and it was just such a neat experience. I really do want to do that experience again, and I just remember how incredibly happy I was after the experience. I was so euphoric. So anyway, that is my second birth experience. I'm going to go ahead and upload it right now, so feel free to ask questions.